Well, I think the biggest thing is that the crowd, they were always tough as an opponent. They were always on you. You always hear about the Duke crazies, but I think Harmon was up there. Dick Vitale would spend most of his time on the West Coast. He would be bragging about how the Harmon fans were just as tough as the Duke crazies. And that was, as a player, you always had them in your corner, and you knew that you could count on them to get on their best, the opponent's best player, and get him out of his game and be more worried about what they're talking about. Some of the things weren't nice, but you always knew that they were going to help you win the ball game.
Well, right now I feel obviously pretty good to be a member of the last team that will play in the old Harmon. I would like to think that we'll be remembered as a team that kept the streak alive and at least finished out this season, which is most of the guys' senior season undefeated at Harmon. That would be something that hopefully I can look back on and say I was a part of.
Well, I think it's an honor. You know, I feel it's an honor to coach at Cal. With or without Harmon, it's an honor to coach at Cal. But when you start thinking about what Harmon has had and the coaching and the tradition that's preceded me, it is an honor to be here and to put yourself in the same breath as Pete Newell is indeed an honor. He's a legendary coach. He always will be, and he's also, I consider, a friend, somebody that I've had an opportunity to talk with and learn a lot of basketball from. So it's an honor to be mentioned and to follow in the same manner as a Pete Newell, somebody that's won a national championship and has meant so much to the University of California.
In 8th grade, I was growing up in the East Bay, and a friend of mine had an extra ticket. His dad was a Cal grad, and I was a junior high basketball player. He says, "You want to go watch UCLA and Cal?" Well, UCLA was #1 in the country then with Hazard and Goodrich, and it was John Wooden's first NCAA championship team. And Cal almost upset him that evening, and I remember I was sitting way up in the rafters about the next to last row. And I'm not saying that's the reason I'm a college basketball coach, but that excitement certainly carries over.
We played him at Harmon Gym, and I can remember that Kareem was making a move or was on a rebound, and Tommy Henderson accidentally, although we kind of kidded him that maybe he kind of did this on purpose, stuck his finger in Kareem's eye and hurt Kareem's eye, unfortunately. And the next day for UCLA, they played Stanford without Kareem. And everybody was excited nationally because the next week UCLA was going to play the University of Houston with Elvin Hayes and their great team. And it was going to be the first game in a dome, and there were going to be like 30,000 people or 40,000 people there. And well, when that game was played, as most people know, Houston beat them. And so indirectly, a little unknown trivia fact that actually Cal's the reason that they lost that game. So we kind of felt like we could claim a victory over UCLA indirectly.
Yeah, the atmosphere, for one thing. The atmosphere was great with the student body there, the fans, and the closeness of the fans to the court, and how small as gym it was. It's a gym that kind of reminded me of being back in high school, you know, and it doesn't remind you of a college gymnasium or arena, especially the ones that they have nowadays. So I think that had an impact. The impact of the student body close to the court, the stomping and the cheering and the yelling and the franticness that the crowd had, and to root on the Cal basketball players. So without a doubt, for me, Harmon Gym was always a tough place to play, but it was always an exciting place to play.
Like I say, my memories go way, way back before I even attended Cal and played. I always wanted to come to Cal. I used to go in the trainers room, watch the players get their treatment, and Bob Orr, the trainer then, used to kick us out, you know. He'd kick us out, say it's time to go, and we was just sitting there stargazing, you know, and I used to say, one day I'm gonna be here playing. So one time I told Bob Orr, I said, one day you're gonna tape my ankles. And he just looked at me and laughed. But I was determined to come to Cal because I just liked it, the atmosphere here. I liked it, you know, I always wanted to play for the announcer. I can't think of his name, but the guy that used to announce the player's introduction when Phil Chenier and them were here. He had this certain voice that it just sounds so magical. And I always wanted to hear him say, as starting guard for Cal, number 24, Gene Ransom. And I had the opportunity one time. He came back and did a special game, and that was a special moment for me.